So this is what I'm picking up. To the Tekken team, and perhaps even Harada himself, advanced players want changes to make the game more like Tag 2, and a movement-heavy game like Tag 2 is not appealing. Is that true? I don't know, but I think those beliefs need to be reversed if there's going to be any real consideration of their direction of the game. Otherwise, we're guaranteed more of the same, where some advice in terms of the balance is considered, but anything substantial in how the game plays is determined by a vision of an increasingly simplified and spectacle-driven metagame. Okay, we're doing this. Over the past few months, I've been thinking about where I'd like to take this channel, and with Tekken 8 Season 3, it definitely cemented my path forward. So here I just want to talk about what I'm going to do with the channel, but first, just give my honest thoughts on the Season 3 launch. This is going to be unscripted, so it's going to be not as tight as a lot of my other videos, but I really wanted to get my thoughts out there and as honest as possible. If I could describe Season 3 in a word, it would be demotivating. When Season 3 dropped and I went to go in the lab and try to test out the new moves and situations for Yoshimitsu, I was, in the lab and practice mode for a bit, and I'm about to hit record, and this overwhelming feeling came over me, like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I don't know what it was, but I'm like, I just did not feel like continuing that. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to make a video going over the patch notes and all that stuff. And, it was a very, I won't say shocking, but it's like this overwhelming feeling. So, was Season 3 like really that bad? And not on its own, but it's really bad in the context of Season 2 and Tekken as a whole. When Tekken started in arcades, the major update for the game was a big improvement. So when Tekken 5 Vanilla went to Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection, it was a big improvement on the game. New characters, all balance changes, bug fixes, all that stuff. Same with Tekken 6 and Tekken Bloodline Rebellion. Same with Tekken Tag 2 into Tekken Tag 2 Unlimited. Same with Tekken 7 and Tekken 7 Fatal Retribution. So Tekken 8 was the first one without an arcade release. It went all to console global release. And Season 2 was supposed to be that major update. And we all know how that went, right? It promised defensive improvements. There were small patches throughout Season 1 that seemed to be going in the right direction. And, they were touting 1,500 changes, right? So this was going to be that big improving patch for Tekken 8, and it proved to be a gigantic misstep. It showed incompetence in the balancing of the moves, the character identity, and kind of really ramping up the aggression, which I recognize as the theme of the game, but it changes the gameplay in a way that's just far less rewarding to actually learn, and I'll get into that in a bit. But the community backlash was big. Nakatsu himself apologized on Twitter and guaranteed oversight of all the changes going forward. I think Harada said something about the team changing. They were taking out the new people that weren't as familiar and putting in the people that had Tekken experience to balance the game going forward. So that part was important for me. Action to address the problems in Season 2 was important because it showed organizational corrections and quality assurance, right? Like, yeah, okay, you can have a bad character balance, but this was really huge issues. And with this whole admittance that, the lead director wasn't actually signing off on these changes, and it became plausible that, okay, it was bad QA. This is an explanation as to why Season 2 was so bad. Now, I wasn't at a level of experience to know what each specific change did. I was still watching YouTube videos to find out how the new moves were covering the traditional options until I got around to labbing it myself. But that's part of the issue. High-level players complained about defensive options being removed. And of course, the low-level players are not really cognizant of those kinds of things as well, or care about it. But I'm still learning those defensive options in matchups. The game, while learning those matchups, is just a lot more frustrating in Tekken 8, and especially how it was in Season 2. You'd go and you play some ranked matches, you play some matches, you get rushed down. If you're playing defensively, you get rushed down by a bunch of stuff, and you go to a lab and try to figure out, what happened. Do I need to sidestep here? What happens if I try to do a quick interrupt? Is it something that I just have to hold? You might remember one or two of those things. You might not see that character again, and if you do see that character again, then they can hit you with a bunch of other things that were overpowered in situations that you then have to go back to. It made it very difficult to actually learn how to deal with these situations. It's just really frustrating to learn those matchups. But at the same time, it's less motivating to go through that learning as the game, increases the threats and the true mix-ups that you have to deal with. So some matches would be fun, but it would completely depend on how the opponent played, right? If they played like a crackhead, then unless you already knew that matchup knowledge, it was not going to be a good time, or you had to apply your own offense to prevent that from happening, and that's just not as fun. So in season 2, I didn't quit entirely, but I found myself playing way less, and I stopped competing in tournaments altogether. I didn't really go anywhere, and that was because what I saw and what I was experiencing wasn't fun anymore. You're trying to climb this mountain, right? Just climb this mountain of learning all these matchups, and you do all this work, you put in all this time, but now you're seeing that the mountaintop, you see the play that happens at the peak play is not worth it. Whether it be more legitimate mix-ups or the super long combos, learning defense now no longer frees you from your opponent's most annoying moves that deny you agency as a player. That was a very demotivating thing. So I know that it's not about the destination, but it's about the journey. But the journey hasn't been fun either. So that's kind of what the issue has been. So what makes season 3 so different? It really isn't. And that's the problem. After the apologies, after Nakatsu signed off on all the changes, after advertising exactly what we wanted to hear, almost a year of no updates, season 3 failed to move the needle at all. It's to be a step forward in some changes. The heat change was pretty good with the heat smashes. The Ana nerfs for some of those was pretty good. Then you have these weird and like sideways steps and the back steps where buffing characters like Law. I don't think he needed buffs, but he got buffed. So, even if the update was small, and that was another thing, it wasn't a huge update either. The update was small, but if all the changes were consistent in increasing the interactivity across the board, I'd probably be chilling. At that point I could say, okay, it's a resource issue. Perhaps Bandai Namco is pulling these developers away, and they're reallocating based off their own expectations. But if it was all going in the same direction as a de-escalation of the aggression in the game, then there would at least be a little bit of hope, maybe. But that's just not the case. If they weren't going to get it from YouTube and Twitter after 2 years, then they're not going to get it through a Discord portal, and not anytime soon. So there's a lot of hope. There's no hope at all, in my opinion, about the game getting to a way where it's a lot more satisfying to play. So this is what Tekken 8 is generally going to be, and it comes down to what to do after accepting that. So this channel was to share my Tekken journey as a player. During my journey, it shows any guides, lessons, and mindsets that I learned along the way, and my thoughts on different issues being part of the community. Basically just to be a contributor and to share whatever I thought was fun to share. Just to be a part of this thing that I liked, because Tekken was more than just a game. It was a hobby, right? I built other skills. I tried to increase my ability to communicate with these videos, my ability to edit and understand the game, and actually travel and meet people. All those things were connected with Tekken as a hobby. And I post a lot of different kinds of content, from topical commentary and video essays just to raw gameplay, and then some occasional shit post. And I realized that variety doesn't do me any favors for having the algorithm push my videos. So my slow and inconsistent schedule and packaging multiplies that issues, right? I know I'm trying to get better at my thumbnails. I know they've been pretty trash in the past, and I'm trying to get a little bit better with those. So when I do make a bigger project and people don't engage with it, in large part due to being pushed to the wrong test group, for example, it really stings. It makes me not want to invest a ton of time in making a single video. But I find that those kinds of videos are still really rewarding. So I'm thinking, if I want my content to actually be seen, it needs to be more consistent. So in light of everything going on with Tekken, going forward, I'm going to try to dial it in the video essay format and the commentary format, and pretty much eliminate the reaction videos and those kind of discussion videos, like videos like this one where I'm going to be talking over some light gameplay or some gameplay and some light edits. I really want to show a little bit more entertainment in the videos. When I think about the videos I'm most proud of, it's those projects where I put time to research and edit and, take the concept to the farthest I can take it. I love those kinds of videos. So the more reactionary videos help my presence in the YouTube Tekken community, but they always felt like an obligation. Like I had to drop everything. Like I dropped the project that I'm working on now to kind of do this. It felt like an obligation or a delay to the projects that I really want to get to. And I have a huge backlog of ideas that, based on my available time to even commit to YouTube, that it's not going to get there if I continue doing this, having all these small videos in between. So I'm going to try to dial it in. And, my goal now is to really lean into the things that genuinely give me satisfaction and just cut out the things I don't. This means that the channel is going to be a little bit more quiet, but you'll have a way better idea of what you're getting for each upload. And when it comes to Tekken 8, I think the saddest thing about Tekken 8 is that I no longer feel like improving is all that worth it. Like I was saying before, Tekken skills were worth mastering because they would be effective for a long time and in future Tekken games, and I'll have fun along the way. But as I said before, I'm not having the same fun, that same satisfaction along the way. And, with the elimination of technical or execution stuff, the Tekken that I am aspiring to is not really there anymore. So, now I feel like my time is better spent on other things. If it takes 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours to master Tekken, and Tekken is no longer that thing, you could put that to anything else, right? Some other skill, learning a language, music, something else. So that's kind of where my head is at for that. Am I quitting Tekken 8? I don't think so, but whereas before I would buy very few other games in order to keep playing Tekken and keep my skills sharp and improve, and just continue on that journey of improvement, now I will no longer hold that space for Tekken 8. I'm just going to keep it as a casual game. It's going to be like, like any other game that I'm playing right now, like Mario Kart, Mario Tennis, like a, Monster Hunter. Like if I feel like playing Tekken 8, I will. And if I don't, then so be it. I think there's many people that believe criticizing Tekken 8 is made invalid if you continue to play it, but I don't find that true at all. I still played Season 2, but I didn't play nearly as often. I didn't get the season pass or even get the DLC characters, which is big because, coming up to Tekken 8, I was a huge supporter, financially too. I bought like the super supreme, like high tier pre-order of Tekken 8. I bought the season 1 DLC, even knowing that I'm not going to play those characters. But as far as a series go, I'm fine with supporting it and putting more money towards it because that was the only thing that I was playing. But season 2, didn't buy it. Don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen in season 3. Gameplay wise, I stopped trying to rank up. I stopped looking for events to travel to. It's because it's one thing to play the game, but it's another to have a passion for it, to invest in it, to feel something that remains after you put down the controller, right? I got into Tekken at a point in my life where I really could put my all into it. It really encapsulated me, but I really don't see myself pouring that same energy into a singular game. So for people that might say, hey, try a Virtua Fighter, try DOA, try some other fighting game, Marvel Tokon's in the horizon, I'll probably still check some of those games out, but like just to go in as hard and like making the guides and videos and stuff, it's not going to be like Tekken. I don't think I can expect it to be like Tekken to kind of fill that hole that the game has left. The energy that I have put into Tekken will be used for other things, and I'm actually pretty excited. Again, like I feel like a little bit more free to explore some of those other games, and I'm actually looking forward to that. My next project, or the project I'm working on now, is a Tekken video. I've been working on it for a while. It's been busy the past few months just with real life stuff, but it's definitely the kind of video that I'm leaning towards making going forward. And I really want to sincerely thank all of you for listening and tuning in over the times. This is not an end to the channel at all, but no matter if you're here for the commentary, the reactions, the guides, whatever, I just really appreciate it. Again, not a goodbye. There will be more stuff to come, and if you have any feedback or requests, just fill out this Google form. All right, I'm just playing. Anything you feel like saying about my content or season 3, just comment below. Thanks again, and I'll catch you later.